Mini episode 1321 of the FDH Lounge is brought to you by Sportsology, delivering unconventional columns and webcasts about sports, TV, music, movies, and more. Follow them on the web at sportsology.com.
The FDH Lounge. You'll want to schedule your life around it.
A long time ago, on a gloomy, wet Cleveland spring night, two men stand alone amidst the late-night drizzle. Their voices echo across the vacant station parking lot as they debate the merits of the great American radio show that have been missing for far too long. On that night, an idea was born. That idea became the FDH Lounge. Welcome to the FDH Lounge.
Hello and welcome to FDH Lounge mini episode 1321, the weekly FDH football preview show. I'm FDH Managing Partner Rick Morris here with our preview for the 2020-2021 NFL Wildcard Round in our 17th year of coverage. Last week we went 7-8-1 overall, 2-1 on the Big Three, and 1-0 on the lock, ending our regular season numbers at 138, 108, and 10, 30, 20, and 1, and 10 and 7. Our 30 games over 500 left us at an unbelievable 56% for the season, and clinched our third year ever above the profitable mark of 52.4%, and this time the Big Three and lock picks did quite well also. For each of these games, we'll include our FDH Ultimate Quantitative Baseline, or UQB, in the analysis. It's an amalgam of the following 10 different indexes: the FDH Lounge Final Power Rankings for 2020, the FDH Lounge Rankings for Impressiveness of Victories, based equally on a team's victories and the strength of the schedule that they played, strength of schedule based on the FDH Power Rankings, offensive yards gained, defensive yards allowed, time of possession, DVOA, offensive DVOA, defensive DVOA, and special teams DVOA. In every game except one this week, the dog has less marks in their favor, so we'll just mention those for the sake of simplicity. The underdog Rams split the categories 5-5 with Seattle. By the way, you can find our UQB statistic and much more in our FDH 2021 NFL Playoff Guide, linked on the main page at thefdhlounge.com and fantasydrafthelp.com. In Saturday's opener, Buffalo is laying 6 to Indy, which only has the defensive yards and defensive DVOA metrics in its favor. Shockingly, the Colts are getting more than a point for the first time all year. They're a really good team, but in over their heads against a squad that was somehow favored to win their division, but has still really exceeded expectations. The Bills will cover, perhaps somewhat easily. Next up, it's Seattle laying 3 to the Rams in a game where Jared Goff is just off thumb surgery. The Rams have the advantage in strength of schedule, offensive yards, time of possession, and defensive DVOA. In a year in which coronavirus has cast such a shadow over so many different games, it's a good old-fashioned injury on Goff's hand that taints this one. It would have been awesome to see them on even ground, but they're not. We'll take the Seahawks. In the night game, Tampa lays 8 to DC, who has an edge in defensive yards, defensive DVOA, and time of possession. With the identity issues that have plagued the Bucs' running game all year and the fact that they're facing a defense that looks better than theirs right now, we still like them to win the game, but in a week where few, if any, dogs look plausible, we have to take the points here. The Sunday opener has the Ravens laying 3.5 to Tennessee, marking them as the weekend's other road favorite. Tennessee has the edge in impressiveness of wins index, strength of schedule, offensive yards, and offensive DVOA. Obviously, Baltimore has struggled in these big games in the Lamar Jackson era, but they've never faced a garbo defense like this in a team that somehow managed to finish 28th in the league in time of possession, notwithstanding featuring the league's leading rusher. You almost have to try to pull that off. Sure, the Ravens may have to mix in a few punts in between various 10-minute drives. The Titan offense won't keep them close enough to cover. The late afternoon game has New Orleans laying 10 to Chicago at home, with the Bears only favored in strength of schedule, and honestly, it's not much more complicated than that. The Saints will roll. The last game of the weekend, sadly, might be the most anticlimactic, as the COVID-ravaged Browns visit Pittsburgh without their Pro Bowl guard Joel Bitonio, their head coach, and several other players, somehow only getting 6. the Browns have the edge in strength of schedule, time of possession, offensive yards, and offensive DVOA. That line being so low almost makes you wonder if this isn't a why ask why special with the smart money on the good guys, but that doesn't seem plausible, and so the head must override the heart here in picking the home team in a selection where we truly hope we lose. Thank you for joining us for this mini episode of the FDH Lounge.